All right, good morning. Good morning. How you all doing? Karibuni sana. Welcome to the Forex Daily Analysis. This beautiful 28th day of October 2024. Hope you're well. Good to see you all here. Hope you had a restful weekend. We're all geared up and ready for another week. Hopefully, it's going to be an exciting week on the charts, just like last week. For the sake of guys who are joining us here for the first time, welcome to the Forex Daily Analysis. Feel free to join us with the same link that you did use to join us here. Of course, that goes out to the guys who are joining us here on Zoom. For the guys who are joining us on YouTube, also feel free to join us on YouTube as well, but also remember to like and subscribe. When you're there, it does help our channel out. So John is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit. So we are here alongside Mitch. He is here. So he is working in the back office. In case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them both on the Q&A section and also on the chat box, which will definitely be getting back to you, but I will be looking at the questions more specifically in the Q&A section, but towards the very tail end of this session. But as always, you don't need to wait and ask your questions at the very end. You still can ask and also put in your requests there, and Mitch will definitely get back to you. So we're going to jump straight into it. So we'll start off by looking at the watch list as always. So you can see on Friday, this is what the watch list was looking like. We had the euro, the Great British Pound, and the Swiss franc on the buy side of things. Looking into today, the only change that we do have is the US dollar that has joined the buy side. Number of fundamentals did end up coming out on Friday that did switch the bias a bit, and also a lot of strength has been coming in on the USDs. So we will be seeing whether that is still going to be the case carrying into today. So this is what the watch list is going to be looking like. So feel free to take note of that. And I think we can look at the currency pairs that we did have on Friday that unfortunately did not make it into our watch list this morning. So definitely the USDs. So we have the US dollar against the Swiss franc here. For this one on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. Can't clearly see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also an illustration of what to expect. Friday morning price was somewhere here. So we're expecting price to come back in within this region, and you can't see price came back in within this area here. There was some sort of a reaction during 3, which was during the US session. And you can't see that the sellers were really holding within here. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get the price coming all the way down to within this region here. But of course, we did get sales within this area. You definitely needed to manage. You can't see that there was some sort of a minor SNR here that was really giving issues. And of course, towards the end of the day, I mean, if the sell didn't work, then you are better off scratching that trade and possibly looking for better opportunities or more opportunities today. So moving on into the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the US dollar. For this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. You can clearly see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also some illustrations of what to expect. Friday morning price was here. We're expecting maybe price to come back in within this region, which somehow it did. Then you can see that the market went to the upside. And of course, I mean, within this region here, not the best area in terms of looking for the buys, unless the market broke and held above this region. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And you can see that the pullback did happen. And you can see that this was during the US session. And I mean, like I pointed out, a lot of strength was coming in on the USDs during the US session, due to some fundamentals that did end up coming out. So, of course, you can't see the strength coming in on the USD. Similar situation on this one. This is the euro against the US dollar. So you can't see for this one on Friday. We're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys, and of course, an illustration of what to expect in the regions that we're expecting the buys to work out from. Price was somewhere within here Friday morning at a time like this. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the price coming back in within here. Neither could we get price breaking above this region to the upside, for us to look for those more conservative buying opportunities. And you can't see the strength that really came in off this region right here. And that's the reason why, we keep on pointing out, make sure that you buy with buyers, sell with sellers. You can't see that during the US session, also moving into 430, price was holding within a seller's region. And, maybe just expecting the sellers to end up reacting from there was not a wrong idea, because you can clearly see that they did come in. Unfortunately, there was nothing to tell us to look for buys within that region. In as much as price has come back in all the way till the bottom right there, if you do have a good reason as to why you should be looking for the buys, then by all means, you can jump in on them. But of course, unfortunately for us, we don't really have much of a reason, being as the euro and the US dollar on the same side. So you could easily find that there might be no clear direction on that particular currency pair. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs that we did have on Friday that unfortunately did not make it onto our watch list this morning. So we're going to shift gears and look at the currency pairs for today. Of course, today being a Monday, remember, we don't really showcase screenshots, but we're really grateful. Thank you so much to everyone who did end up sending us some screenshots. There was one guy in particular who I saw sent in a lot of screenshots. I think it was Peter on Friday. I think you really killed it on the charts on Friday. That was really well done. So shout out to you. So feel free to send in your screenshots to us. Our contact details should be there on the chat box. Remember, you can send them in to us via WhatsApp. I mean, it's the only thing we always or we ever ask you guys of. We don't ask you for any money. So feel free to send in your screenshots. We just want to celebrate your wins. And of course, just to see that the information that we're giving you here is also beneficial to you. So feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp. Our contact details should be there on the chat box. So shifting gears into matters today. So you can see the watch list there for the guys who are joining us late. So we're going to be mixing and matching up the Swiss franc versus the the currency pairs on the sell side, the Great British Pound, the Euro, and the US dollar do the same. Then we'll finish off with the indices and the commodities. And you can see that there's no change on those ones so far. On the fundamental front, if we just look at today, you can also see on Friday there were quite a number of news events that came out. So we've already factored all this information into the watch list for today. So looking into today, there's not really that much that's going to be happening in as much as the charts have really moved. And we'll be looking at that, especially the New Zealand dollar pairs, the Australian dollar pairs and the yen pairs have really moved a lot. So, I mean, the big boys have really started moving early in the week. So I guess it might be a very good week. Let's see what happens. But in as much as that's the case for today, you can't see that there isn't that much that's going to be happening on the economic front. Doesn't mean that the charts are not going to be moving. You can't see that it's a holiday in New Zealand. Most of these other news events are going to be coming out more or less during the US session. So I guess we'll just wait and see how things are going, but at least there's nothing to really end up shaking the market. So I guess we're good to go. So let's see what happens today. And we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So these are the Swiss franc pairs. So for this one on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. You can see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also illustrations of what to expect. Friday morning price was here. Wasn't really a good time to look for the sells, and you clearly can't see that there was some sort of a support region here that the market bounced off from. Came back in within this region. You just needed to be a bit patient. You can't see that he had illustrated that maybe we could get the market going up, coming back in and holding for the sell. That's exactly what the market did. So you can see that the buyer stepped up within this region here, went to the upside, came back in, and then the market held within this region. At least if you looked for sales at that point in time, you can see that that sell really performed, even breaking beneath this region to the downside. So for this one, for today, let's see what happens. So these are going to be the three areas we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities and also regions where we can manage our trades. So you can see that there was this gap. In fact, quite a number of currency pairs do have gaps coming into today, which you'll end up seeing even as we end up looking at the rest of the currency pairs. So it seems that the market came in, held within this region. It's closed this gap right here. It might come back in within this region. Let's see what happens. At least if we do end up getting the market holding within here, maybe we could get another sell, because there's a high probability these sellers who pushed the market to the downside will be attempting to break their previous record, somewhere down within this region. So we still could get a sell coming in within here. But also watch out for the region at the top. I mean, if this price is not good enough, then there's a possibility the market might be coming back in somewhere as close as possible within this area here. You could find maybe another sell, just like the one that happened on Friday, happening off that region right here, coming down. So watch out for that. Remember the red SNR at the top. In case the market breaks and holds above that region to the upside, then unfortunately, there will be no trade for us. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. You can see the three areas right there. that had been pointed out, also an illustration of what maybe the market could have done. So Friday morning price was here, broke to the upside. Unfortunately, couldn't come back in. It came all the way high up to within this area here. There was also this SNR that had been set out somewhere within here. Maybe you could have found the market tapping within that area. Unfortunately, it broke and held above here. And you can see that there was even an attempt of the buyers, to push the market up higher, but you can't see that the sellers within here reacted quite aggressively. And if you look at the times, that was at exactly 4:30. Remember the times that we keep on pointing out, especially during the US session, the 3 and the 4:30, you can see that that's when the market did actually end up making a move to the downside. So for this one for today, these are the 3 areas that we will be watching out for. Can take out this region. So these are the 3 areas we will be watching out for. Let's see what happens. Hopefully we will get a proper pullback that we can read, within at least this region or somewhere within this region here. At least if we do get some sales somewhere here, you definitely will need to manage your trade within this region here, or in case the market comes up high up to within this area, then at least we do know that we can also end up getting some sales activating, somewhere higher up within this region here. So we just need to wait and see which option the big boys do actually end up wanting, and we'll end up going with that. So do watch out for that. Also, another thing you need to remember is that from today, the London times have changed. So we are talking about 11 a.m. Kenyan time or East African time. So that's when the London session is going to be opening. Remember, the Frankfurt session was also happening at 9. So that has also gone up by 1 hour. So it's going to be happening from 10. So that's the only shift for now. Next week, the times for the US are also going to be pushing up by 1 hour as well. So also make sure that you also remember that, but at least we'll be here to remind you guys about that. So let's see what happens during the London market open and also the Frankfurt open from 10, 11. So watch out for those times, watch out for those levels. And of course, no matter what you do, make sure that you do end up trading with a stop loss. So moving on into the next one, this is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So for this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can clearly see the 3 regions right here that Mitch had pointed out, and also illustrations of what to expect. So Friday morning price was somewhere within this region here. And we're expecting price to come back in within here. There was this SNR here, and you can see that the market was in some sort of a range where the market was holding within this area. And you can see that during the London session, the market was coming down. So it was on the pullback phase. And during the US session, you can see that from 3, that's when the market did actually end up taking off to the upside. And you can see that today, this gap, like I pointed out on some and most of the currency pairs, you will see that the gap did actually even end up closing, and you can see that the market has actually ended up going up a bit higher. So this was a trade that I did end up taking, although on the screen here, it shows that had I held on to this trade, it would have given a 1:16. I actually ended up coming out somewhere within this region here, because I didn't really want to hold it all the way till the top, because sometimes the uncertainty that comes in with weekends, you wouldn't really know what would happen. But maybe had it not been a weekend, maybe would have actually held on to that trade all the way till the very top. But you can't see, this was I think just at about 9 or thereabout, when the market just came back in within this region here. At least the buy did end up working out, and of course, I guess that was pretty much it from that trade there. But you can see that during the Asian session today, the markets really opened up with a lot of force to the upside. So let's see what happens on this one. Hopefully we'll still end up getting more buying opportunities on this one, but we'll definitely need to end up seeing the pullbacks coming in. It's very important. So just make sure that you don't just end up hitting buys when the market is high up within these regions right here. At least the pullback is coming in on this one, but we'll definitely need to see a bit more of the story of what happens. So let's see if we can get the market possibly coming back in within here, visually end up seeing, a struggle of the sellers, and at least the buyers coming in within this area. Then at least we could try and see whether we could get some buying opportunities on this one there. Make sure that you do manage your trade, at least when the market comes in within this region. And of course, remember that there's also a possibility price can also come back in within this area right here. If we do end up getting a much deeper pullback, maybe the buyers need to incite more sellers to come in before they actually end up pushing the market to the upside. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But remember the red SNR, in case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us up until maybe if the market comes back to the upside of that region. So last but not least, for the CHF pairs, we have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. You can clearly see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also illustrations of what to expect. Friday morning price was here at around 9:10, around this time. You can see that the market had just done this probe, held to the upside, and that meant that most probably the market was going to move to the upside. And you can see that it did do that, came back in within here. You can see the slowdown of the buyers and the sellers now starting to come in, and you can see that pullback coming back in within this region before the market took off. And you can see that that was at exactly 4:30 if you look at the time down here. So at around 4:30, you can see that the sellers came in, and you can see that they actually broke this region to the downside, held below it, and you can see that the market continued to rally down. So for this one, it gave a good selling opportunity on Friday. Let's see if today we'll also end up getting a good sell on this one as well. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So we've adjusted them, of course, based on what the story of price is telling us. The buyers have come up, and also see that gap right there. Buyers are coming in, sellers are yet to really fully come in. So there's a possibility you will find that maybe the market might attempt to go a bit higher than that before maybe the sellers do actually end up showing up. And also just to give these buyers a bit more time to actually come out of their orders. Big boys start to build their orders, and you could find the market coming to the downside. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Let's see what happens. And of course, remember, in case the market breaks and holds above this red SNR to the upside, and unfortunately, at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So that's pretty much it in terms of the CHF pairs. So we're going to move on to the GBP pairs now. We're going to mix and match them up with everything on the sell side, just like we did with the CHFs. So we'll start off with the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. And you clearly can't see what the plan was on Friday right there. So Friday morning, price was here. We're expecting maybe price to come back in within here. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen. The market just more or less held within this area here, then eventually broke to the upside. And you can see based on the illustration that we had, that Mitch had put in here, I wanted to see the market break to the upside, pull back in, and continue moving to the upside. So the market broke above here, but you can see that when the pullback came in, this was early today, pulled back in within that region, and you can see that the market did actually end up taking off to the upside. So for this one, let's see if we can get some sort of a pullback coming in, and at least we can see some sort of a pullback is coming in. Let's see if the buyers, or rather the sellers, can actually end up slowing down within this area here. If they do, then that would be good. Hopefully, we might end up getting the buyers. You can see these buyers who pushed up quite aggressively on Friday. During the US session, during the Asian session, you can see that there was also another push by the buyers. So let's see if hopefully they'll end up coming back in somewhere within here. And of course, just targeting the high, the most recent high that they've made, which is high up within this region. So watch out for that, but also remember this region at the bottom right here, there's also a possibility. I mean, if the buyers need that price, then we also need to be ready for that, but just aware that in case the market breaks beneath and that region and holds beneath it, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one on Friday, we're also watching out for buys. You can't see what the plan was on Friday. Friday morning price was somewhere within here. We're expecting price to come back in within this area here. But you can't see that it just tapped it within that region and took off to the upside. And this was during the London market open from around 10. So unfortunately, reading this one was a bit hard, because you can see that there was no slowdown within here, unless maybe you're reading this story maybe on a smaller time frame, but it just tapped in within that area, and after that took off, came in within this region. And you can see that during the US session, it broke above this area to the upside. So we will be expecting maybe there could be a possibility we could be getting a retest coming back in within that region. That's if the New Zealand dollar can end up getting a bit of strength, because it has been very weak. You can see that it's just been getting hammered by the Great British Pound. So at least the New Zealand dollar can end up getting some strength, then that would be good. Maybe we could end up getting maybe a proper pullback coming back in. But also remembering that today is a holiday in New Zealand. So I don't really know if that pullback is going to come in, unless maybe the London big boys might end up helping. Where the Asian big boys were unable and possibly end up giving a pullback coming in within here, at least if that happens. Because I mean, we're already seeing a pullback coming in on the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So hopefully maybe the New Zealand dollar might end up pulling back, maybe during the London session, then maybe during the US session, we could find maybe the market somewhere down within here for us to look for the buys. So we could watch out for that. If that does happen, well and good. If it doesn't, then we could possibly wait for a breach of this region to the upside, and maybe we might end up getting the next buy, maybe somewhere within this region here. So watch out for that. And of course, if you're a real sniper on the charts, quite a number of scenarios within these areas here, because I mean, if the pullback comes in and it's very weak, and it might not end up getting all the way till this major level here, you still could find some buying opportunities, in between within these regions here. But you just need to make sure that, in as much as you're looking for those buys, the risk to reward also does end up making sense. Because remember, risk to reward is king when it comes to trading. So as long as you get a decent risk to reward, then you should be good. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one on Friday, we're watching out for buys. Clearly can't see the three areas that had been pointed out and also an illustration of what to expect. So Friday morning price was here. It was either price to come back in within here or break above here and pull back in. And you can't see that the market did that at exactly 3. It was back within this region, gave a really good buy. Came up, just tapped in within that region. The seller slowed down, and you can't see that today during the Asian session, even with that gap, the market did really push to the upside, and you can't see that the Asian big boys, they came in with a lot of force. So let's see what happens. At least there's a pullback that's coming in on this one. Let's see if the sellers can actually slow down within this area here. They're still coming in quite aggressive. If you look at the fight that's going on within here, the buyers came up aggressive, but the sellers also came in quite aggressive. The buyers have attempted to push the market to the upside, but if you look at their last push coming down, if you compare this and this, it shows that the sellers are still quite there. So let's see what happens. Maybe the market might just need to come into the downside. Then after that, maybe the sellers give up and maybe the buyers might end up coming in. Could be a level maybe within here that the market might need. Could also come back in all the way till within this region or somewhere within here. So let's see what happens. But at least one thing we can't read is that the sellers are still quite in the market. So we need to let them first die out. Then hopefully the buyers will end up kicking in, and hopefully that's when we can end up getting a good buying opportunity. So let's just see what happens on that one. So last but not least, for the GBP pairs, this is the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one on Friday, we're also watching out for buys. Can't clearly see the three areas that had been pointed out. Friday morning price was here. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the pullback coming in. So it broke to the upside and just held within here. And you can't see that during the US session, the market just took off from within this area right here. And you can't see that the bars really pushed to the upside quite aggressively. You can't see that the pullback has been coming in since Friday, all the way during the Asian session, coming in nice and slow, which is good. So let's see if the market can tap in somewhere within that area there. You can definitely see that the buyers who push the market to the upside are sitting within that region there. So hopefully if the market can tap in within here, maybe we could get some good buying opportunities within this area here. So just make sure that you watch out for that, but also watch out for this region right here. It's a bit of a long shot, but I mean, like we always point out, there's no price that's too far when it comes to the FX charts. So let's see what happens. But at least on this one, the pullback is coming in nice and easy. We just need to see confirmation, that the buyers are going to be coming in within that region, because in as much as it's a support region, I mean, if the buyers don't end up showing up, then we definitely have a problem. So we will have to end up waiting until we actually see the buyers show up within that area. So that's pretty much it for the GBP pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the Euro pairs. So we're going to do the same. So we'll start off with the Euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can clearly see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out, also an illustration of what to expect. Friday morning price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come in. The pullback did come in. The market came back in within this region, and you can see that it tapped within this area at around 4:30, and from that time you can see that the market did actually end up giving a good buying opportunity. I mean, even if you got the buy there and you just managed your trade within there, that was good. So you can see that during the Asian session, the market has attempted to move to the upside. So we'll be waiting to see what happens on the pullback within here. At least we do have some sort of a pullback coming in. Hopefully, if those sellers can end up slowing down within this area here, and hopefully we end up getting some big buyers showing up within that area, then I think that buy would actually end up moving all the way from within here till the top, somewhere within this region here. So we're going to be eyeing to try and see whether we can end up getting about 56 pips, which is not bad, quite decent. So let's just wait and see what happens. But based on how the buyers are moving up, maybe they might need to end up coming back in within here, inside a bit more sellers before they actually end up attempting to move to the upside. But generally, this one is not too bad, especially considering the fact that the market is making higher highs and higher lows. So we just need to see what happens when it makes its next lower high, somewhere within this region right here. Then after that, maybe we could get a buying opportunity somewhere around this region here. So just make sure that you are on the lookout of that. And also remember the red SNR at the bottom there. Bit of a long shot, but like we always point out, you're better off being ready with something, not needing it, rather than needing something later on and you don't have it. So just keep that level there. Let's see what happens. So the next one, this is the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one on Friday, also watching out for buys. You can clearly see the three regions right here that Mitch had pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. Friday morning, price was somewhere within here. We're expecting price to come back in within this region here. Can't see that it did do that, although it had just tapped within this area quite fast during the London market open, then went up, then came down. Just needed to be patient. And you can see that during the US session, 4:30, price went to the upside, tapped within this region here. And you can see that the market still came back in within this area. This was during the Asian session earlier today, but at least the buyers did come in and broke this region to the upside. So for this one, let's see if we can get the pullback coming in within that area, somewhere within here, especially after the breach. If we do end up getting that, then maybe we could also end up getting a good buying opportunity on this one. But also remember, this is going to be the last year where we will be trying to look for buying opportunities on the market in case it comes back in within here. The reason being, if the market was in a range within this area here, right now we've broken the structure to the upside, which means that we should be expecting maybe the market might just come back in within here, maybe struggle to maybe try and break the upside. If it can't, then it means that at least the structure has actually been broken and there's confirmation of that. In case the market comes in to the downside of this region and actually breaks and holds within here, then it means that we're back in the range. Then the best area for us to look for buying opportunities is definitely at the bottom of the range. But in case the market breaks to the downside of this range, then that means that we have a breach of structure to the downside. So that's the reason why we have this region as the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get aggressive buying opportunities. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Let's see which option we end up getting. But of course, right now, based on the fact that price is here, our eyes should be locked on that region in the center right there. That's where we should ideally be focusing on right now. So the next one, this is the euro against the Japanese yen. So for this one on Friday, we're also trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. So price didn't come back in within here. Unfortunately, broke to the upside. Somehow did actually end up seeming to hold above this region, although it was a real struggle. It was only today during the Asian session that you can see that the market just took off to the upside, even formed that gap right there and has continued to rally up. So let's see if we can get the market pulling back in. And you can see that it broke to the upside, came back in within here. This is also a level that Mitch had pointed out on Friday that we did need to see and watch out for. And you can see that the market tapped within here, came back in, broke to the upside, still came back in within the same region right here. So that level at least was in play until the market retested earlier today. So today, these are the three areas we will be focusing on. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, we can get the pullback coming in. You can see that the sellers are already coming in quite aggressive there is a possibility price might be coming back in within this region, and I hope it does, because I think the good and the best buying opportunities would possibly be somewhere within this region here. And at least that would definitely give us way more range coming up. So we're looking at about 80 pips or so. So you see that's a really good risk to reward. So let's see what happens. The market has already retested here, but unfortunately the buyers couldn't go higher. So there's a high probability they will need a much better price than this. And if that happens, then at least that will put the price squarely back within this region here. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. In case the market comes in there, then at least we will also be ready for that, but also aware that that is the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive buys. So last but not least, for the euro pairs, we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buys. These are the three areas that had been pointed out, also an illustration. There were no clear buying opportunities on this one. The market just fooled around within this area here, broke to the upside, came back in, then held, then came back to some sort of a range that the market had formed here, some sort of an SNR within this region. And you can see that the market was more or less fooling around within this area. So unfortunately, we couldn't get some proper movement. So this one, the levels are the same. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, we can either end up getting a proper pullback coming in, because there'll definitely be maybe some sort of a tiebreaker that will be needed within here. So it's either the market incites sellers to come in. You can see that the market has already formed some SNR within that area there. So there are definitely lots of guys who are pumping in their buys within this region here, especially considering the fact that the market came up so aggressive. There are millions of traders who can definitely see that across the globe, and they can definitely see that the support region seems to be holding here. But this could easily end up being a trap that they're being set up for, by the big boys. You could easily find that, since many guys are hitting buys here, the market might come in, all of them are thrown out and kicked out. When they start looking for sells, when the market comes in within this region here, they will definitely not see the buy happening. So just make sure that you watch out for this area. It's a major SNR. I mean, if we end up looking at it on the bigger time frame, you'll definitely see that there's an SNR somewhere within this region here. And when the market broke to the upside, it never came back in for some sort of a retest within here. We're expecting that on Friday. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So there's a high probability maybe the market might just actually end up needing that price before it actually moves, because you can't see Friday the market was stagnant. Right now, if you look at what's happening, you can't quite tell what's going on, so there's a high probability price might just be coming back in within that area. And if it does, I think some very, very good buys could actually end up taking off from within here. So watch out for that. Watch out for the times, especially during the US session. Could find the pullback happening during the London session, US session, 3, 4:30. Price is back in within that region. Just make sure that you watch out for that. But also remember the red SNR at the bottom. That's going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive buys. So that's pretty much it for the euro pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the USD pairs. And we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. This is a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. So these are the three areas that we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So you can see during the Asian session, the market came down, but also during the US session, I mean, the sellers did come in quite aggressive. But this is also in line with the USD strength that we were talking about earlier, based on those fundamentals that came out on Friday. So the big boys in the US started off. The Asian big boys did end up pushing the market lower. But let's see, when the pullback comes in within this region, of course, hopefully we will end up getting a slowdown of the buyers, and hopefully the sellers can come in. Maybe, most probably, we'll be finding the market attempting to break this region to the downside. But you'll definitely need to manage your trade within this region. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. It's a bit of an extreme area, but in case the big boys need it, then at least we will also be ready for that. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, also a new entrant on our watch list. We'll be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So do watch out for those three areas there. So the pullback is also happening on this one. Hopefully, we can get the buyers really struggling to push the market and get it somewhere as close as possible within here. I mean, even if we don't end up getting this price, there are quite a number of scenarios within this area, which are not too bad. I mean, but at least we first need to see the buyers at least come up somewhere as close as possible within there. And at least we can end up looking for ourselves coming down off that region, watching out for this region right here. So also watch out for the region at the top. It's a bit of a long shot as well on that one, but in case the market finds its way there, then at least we will also be eyeing to see whether we can get some sales from higher up within that region. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, also a new entrant on our watch list. We will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one. For the sake of guys who are new to how we go about it, make sure you don't end up getting mixed up in terms of the buys and the sells. You see, like for this one, especially now we're on the USD pairs and we're looking for buys on the USD against the Japanese yen. For this one, we're looking for buys because the USD is on the left side, so it's the base currency pair. On the others, we're looking for the sells because the USD is on the counter currency side, so it's on the right side. So by selling the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar automatically and simultaneously, we're already buying the USD. So just make sure you don't get it mixed. I know sometimes guys get it mixed. We've gotten that feedback before. So just make sure you really watch out for which side is the currency pair that we're looking at. So if we're buying the USD, anytime the USD is on the left, we're buying. When it's on the right, then we're selling. All right. So I hope that's clear. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be eyeing. You can see that similar situation with most of the currency pairs, especially the yens. We got this, this sort of gaps that did end up happening. There's a high probability the gaps could be closing, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But one thing we do know is that the buyers are definitely in the market and the big boys are definitely there. So we'll be trying to see whether we can get a pullback coming in. The sellers seem like they're also coming in quite aggressive. If you look at how they're really starting to push the market to the downside, there's some sort of an SNR somewhere within this area here. So we'll see if the market reacts and pushes to the upside. If it doesn't, there's a high probability price could be coming back in within this region here. And if it does, then at least the best buying opportunities are definitely here. Alternatively, if let's say the market doesn't come in all the way till the region where we're expecting the buys, because I mean, we analyze the markets to the best of our ability, but remember the market has a mind of its own. So we just need to follow what the market tells us. If the market doesn't come in within here, then I think you're better off waiting to see whether you can get buys somewhere within here, especially after the market breaks to the upside. Try and see whether you can read this pullback coming in, then maybe you could get some proper buying opportunity. This buy will give you lesser issues than trying to attempt some buying opportunities coming up within here. And as much as it's 30 pips, I mean, if you can end up getting a proper risk to reward on it, you can, but you generally need to see whether you can get the sellers slowing down fast before you actually end up attempting buys within here. But you'll definitely need to watch out for this area because the sellers could easily also end up coming back in off this area here. So at least the best buys are definitely here and somewhere within here. These ones will be a bit more or a bit less problematic. This one over here, if you're not careful, you could be signing up for some major character development. So just make sure that you really do watch out for that. So last but not least, in terms of the currency pairs, this is the Canadian dollar against the US dollar against the Canadian dollar rather. So for this one, we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So you also can see on this one, there's the strength that's already coming in on the USD. So you can see, especially starting off on Friday, the bars did come in, push the market to the upside quite aggressively. During the Asian session, the market has been holding, but you can't see a sign of the sellers attempting to come in. So let's hope that the sellers can come down all the way to within this region here. I think if we do get them pushing the market down within this region, this could be a very good area to look for the buying opportunities. It's also in line with the story on the bigger time frame, but also remembering that there's also some sort of an SNR within here. So in case the market comes in within here, let's see if we can't get the market coming down within here. This one you could possibly also end up trying to see whether you can get some buying opportunities within this area here. But those ones as well, you also need to be a real sniper on the charts. But at least buys off here, not too bad. And also the next best alternative could be somewhere within this region here. So just make sure that you do watch out for those two areas right there. I think those should be the main two areas of interest, somewhere here or somewhere down within here. But since the bars are coming down aggressively, let's give them the benefit of doubt and not just hope that they could possibly just end up pushing the market back within that area. So also set an alert there to see what happens. So that's pretty much it in terms of all the currency pairs. So we've mixed and matched up the buys versus the sells. So right now we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. You can see that there's no change on that front. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So for this one on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. And you can see the three areas right there that had been pointed out, or other cells. And you can see the three areas that had been pointed out. So I think this one technically also needs to move from this side. Let me just bring it here. I think that might have just been an oversight on our end. So just need to do that quick alteration there. So apologies for that. Hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So these are the three areas that we had. And wanted to see whether we could have gotten the market coming to the downside. Unfortunately, you can't see that the market broke above this region to the upside. This was during the US session. And you can't see that the market went up, came down, somehow did seem like it did hold to the downside of this area. But considering the fact that it broke above here, it's gone up. We'll wait and see what happens on the pullback, especially when the market comes in within here. But generally, what we do know is that this buyer is the one who actually pushed the market to the upside quite aggressively. And once that happened, I mean, this seller was quickly taken out and they attempted to fight. But unfortunately, it seems that the market is definitely holding above that region to the upside. So for this one, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. The bias has switched, so we'll definitely be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. The buyers are definitely in, and you can see that when they came in, the first time the sellers reacted. The next time when the market has come back in within this region, you can see that the sellers are really struggling within this area right here, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Either the market could break to the upside. If it does, then at least we could get some buys here. And hopefully these buyers who push the market to the upside could really step back into the market once again, and we could get the market moving. But right now, since we're holding just beneath an SNR, also give the sellers the benefit of doubt. I mean, you could easily find them reacting and pushing the market down. There's an SNR within here. After the market broke to the upside, it didn't pull back in within this area. So you could easily find that price could easily come back in within this area here. So watch out for that. But also remember, for as long as we're holding above that SNR right there, then the bias should be to try and see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So the next one, this is the Dow Jones. For this one, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. Can't clearly see the three regions right there that had been pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. Friday morning, price was here. Price came back in all the way somewhat close as possible within that region. And you can see that during the US or the New York Stock Exchange Open, the market actually came to the downside quite aggressively, broke this region to the downside, and also broke this one, held to the downside. You can see that the buyers attempted to push the market to the upside, but the sellers really came in quite aggressive. So this one, at least the sales did end up working out, although a bit of a tricky situation in terms of getting them, especially when the market was high up within this area here, unless you are reading that on a smaller time frame, but you can't see that the sellers really stepped in quite hard. So for this one, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. Right now, we're just holding above an SNR within here, in as much as there are some big sellers who are sitting within this region here. But I mean, if you can't get some sales within here coming down, you possibly could. But I think the best sales would definitely be if we can break this area to the downside and the market pulls back in within there. There's a high probability the market will be trying to break their previous record, or the sellers trying to break their previous record, which is somewhere within here. So if that happens, then at least we could try and see whether we could get this sell happening and possibly getting the market coming down to within there. If you get sales within here, then also be ready to be taken for a ride within this region. I mean, if the market can't break this region to the downside and break it to the downside quite fast, and the market at least holds beneath, if it just comes in slow and holds within here, then you might actually need to end up scratching that trade, because there's a high probability the market will bounce off here, maybe go look for a much better price and there's a high probability price will be coming back in within this region at the top there. So just make sure that you also do watch out for that. But remember, when it comes to the indices and the commodities, we're 100% technical. And as much as fundamentals will be playing a part here and there, of course, because they're pegged on the USD. So, I mean, if the USD news events, then you'll definitely find, some reactions here and there. And also remembering that, I mean, you will find most of them really moving a lot during the US session. So also bear that in mind. But generally, we're watching out for the technical aspect. So just reading the story of what's going on with these ones. And that's the reason why we point out in case price is holding beneath the red SNR, we're looking for sells. If it's above, then we're looking for buys. So for silver, on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. The market was somewhere within here on Friday morning. We wanted to see the market break to the downside, pull back in within here for some sort of a retest, then a sell maybe happening. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market came back in, and you can see that it broke to the upside, actually held above here. You can see that at 4:30, the market was within some sort of a buyer's region. So you can see that the buyers pushed up quite aggressively. The market came in within this area here, and you can see that the sellers reacted off here. I think there was some sort of an scenario here that maybe the sellers needed. And you can see that the market came to the downside, came back in and held within here. But you can see that unfortunately that was already towards the very tail end of the day and also the tail end of the week. Then you can see that the market did attempt to come down lower, but the buyers have come up. So for this one, for today, the levels are going to be the same. So there's some sort of range within here that the market is fooling around. Sometimes it breaks to the downside, sometimes to the upside. But let's see what happens. There's a probability the market might be coming back in within here. Hopefully we can get these bars slowing down. Consider they're coming in quite aggressive. This is not really what we like to see, especially in terms of pullbacks. But let's see what happens. If we can get the buyers hopefully slowing down within this area here, that we might end up getting a sell. You could target all the way down as low as you want to target, but just make sure that you definitely do some money management within there, maybe somewhere within this region here, because you're not quite sure how the market could react off there. So also watch out for the region at the top. It's a bit of a long shot, but in case the market finds its way there, then also remember we're still watching out for sells. If it breaks and holds above that region, then at least we know that at that point in time, we will definitely be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities more confidently. Remember, if you look for buys when the market is in sellers, remember it's a counter. Don't be overconfident about it. Just make sure that your money management is very, very tight at that point in time. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold on Friday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas right there that Mitch had pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. So Friday morning, price was somewhere here. It definitely wasn't a good time to look for the buying opportunities. We're just holding beneath this SNR here. You can see that during the London session, the market reacted. It came back in within this region. And you can see that it just bounced off this area, went to the upside. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the market coming back in somewhere within here. I was also really timing this buying opportunity on Friday. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the price coming back in somewhere within this area here. And you can see that the buyers came in during the US session and continued to push the market to the upside. There was a breach above here, some sort of a pullback, came back in within this region here. Market went up, some sort of a gap came in today, some sort of a probe within this region. You can see that the market has already gone back to the upside. So for this one, you'll need to be a bit patient. Don't end up chasing the buys, especially where the price is right now. I know there are definitely lots of traders who are seeing those green bars, as the market is coming up and, based on FOMO, and, don't let your mind play games and you end up hitting a buy within here. Remember that there's also an SNR within here, and you can see that the market has reacted off here a number of times. Even if the market has broken to the upside here, this could technically be some sort of a probe. So you're not too sure whether the sellers are going to be reacting off this region. So let's see if we could get the market pulling back in within this region here. If it does, I think there could be some good buying opportunities somewhere within here. There's also an SNR within here that maybe the market might just tap back into, and then maybe you could find the market taking off from within here. But alternatively, what you could wait for is to wait and see if you can actually end up getting the buyers breaking above this region to the upside. Unless maybe you're really good in terms of reading the story on a smaller time frame, and if the market breaks above here, then maybe on the pullback you could get some buys. But the only problem about that is that you could also end up signing up, for some sort of a range within this area here. As the buyers attempt to break this area to the upside and the sellers keep on coming back in. So that means that your money management also needs to be very, very, very good. And so just make sure that you watch out for that. But I think the best buy is definitely we can get a breach to the upside here, or hopefully we can get the market pulling back in within here. And I think that's where the best buying opportunity could be. So watch out for that. And also remember the region at the bottom. If the market comes in within that region, then at least we should also be ready for that. So that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So hopefully you've taken note of everything we've discussed, taken the levels, and of course everything else we've discussed in between. So looking at the Q&A section, I'm not really seeing much. So I'm seeing Alan Ronald there with your usual vote of thanks. Karibu sana, Alan. Always good to see you here. And I hope you're well. So I'm not really seeing anything else, so which is okay. Remember, if anything is not clear, you can definitely go to our YouTube. This information is also there. And you can definitely watch the broadcast. You can also skip bits and pieces and also increase the speed or reduce the speed and repeat as many times as possible if something is not clear. So I guess that's pretty much it from me and from us. Let's see how this week ends up going. Remember, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there. And also, if you're struggling on the chats, also feel free to reach out to us. We'll see how best we can end up helping you. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow. So with that, happy trading and God bless. May the peeps be with you.